Have you ever found yourself thinking that your happiness seems to depend more on a message from someone else than on your own well-being? It's time to cut that invisible thread that keeps you tethered to the emotional ups and downs of others. Emotional dependence is nothing more than an unruly garden, where plants grow out of control while you wait for someone else to water them. In this video, I will show you how philosophy can teach you that only you have control over your emotions, using 10 infallible tactics. Don't miss the last tip, as I'll share practical keys to apply these tactics in your daily life. Before we begin, if you value this content, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to stay updated. Now, if you truly want to break free, start by taking care of yourself. Are you ready to set aside dependence? Let's prune this emotional garden. First, tend to your own plot. Have you ever noticed an abandoned garden? Wilting plants, flowers afraid to bloom, and dry shrubs that look like dead branches? Now, imagine that your life is this garden. If you don't take the time to care for and water your own plot, the result will be as desolate as the most neglected garden in the neighborhood. This is where Stoic philosophy comes in. Instead of trying to control other people's gardens, focus on your own. We live in a chaotic and unpredictable universe where chaos reigns and control is an illusion. Often, we forget the most important thing, ourselves. The idea of tending to your own plot is more relevant than it seems. Instead of trying to solve everyone's problems or depending on external factors for your happiness, the secret lies in focusing on what you can truly control, your own well-being. Imagine once again that your life is a garden. If you leave it to chance, hoping that the rain will come to water it, the outcome is likely to be less than ideal. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus only on what is under our control. Therefore, if you want to rid yourself of emotional dependence, start by watering your own plants. But how to do that? First, identify your needs and priorities, and make sure you're taking care of them. Just as each plant needs the right amount of sun and water, you also need time and attention for yourself. You might need to dedicate more time to self-care, or it may be time to cut away negative thoughts that are like weeds choking your flowers. Self-care is not a luxury, but a necessity. Often, we get entangled in emotional dependence, seeking external solutions or hoping others will solve our problems. However, wouldn't it be wiser to tend to your own garden rather than waiting for someone else to do it for you? Accept that only you can take care of your emotions and decisions. There is no magical gardener who will do it for you. To do this, set clear boundaries and engage in constant self-reflection. If you notice that you're placing your happiness in the hands of others, it might be time to break that cycle. Stoic philosophy guides us to focus on our virtue, not on external results. Thus, instead of seeking approval or depending on external factors, learn to find satisfaction in caring for your own garden. At the end of the day, your life is your own plot. The most beautiful garden is the one cultivated with love and attention. So instead of worrying about what others are doing or waiting for the world to improve around you, dedicate time to take care of yourself. Do this with the same dedication you would have in cultivating a flourishing garden. If you want a vibrant and lively garden, start by watering yourself. As the Stoics would say, the power to bloom is in your own hands. After all, the most blooming garden is the one cultivated with the effort and dedication of its own gardener. Second, stop being so demanding and say goodbye to perfectionism. Have you ever stopped to think about how exhausting it is to chase perfection? It's like trying to catch a shooting star with a butterfly net, a beautiful image in theory but completely useless in practice. If you identify with this, it might be time to say goodbye to perfectionism and stop being so rigid with yourself. Perfectionism is like that toxic friend who is always ready to remind you that you could have done something better. It pushes you to work extra hours, to review every detail to exhaustion, and of course to endlessly self-evaluate. But here's the secret: while you cling to the quest for the ideal version of yourself, life goes on and passes you by. Imagine you're trying to create a masterpiece on a blank canvas. You start painting, but every brushstroke seems imperfect. Then you keep painting and painting, only to realize that you've covered the canvas with so many colors that you no longer recognize what you originally intended. In the end, what you had in mind gets lost in a chaos of frustrated attempts to achieve perfection. This is the true effect of perfectionism. Instead of bringing order and excellence, it creates confusion and exhaustion. Stoics offer us a refreshing perspective on this. Instead of chasing perfection, they teach us to accept reality as it is, to focus on what we can control, and to be aware of our limitations. In Stoic philosophy, the goal is not perfection but serenity and self-acceptance. Marcus Aurelius, for example, understood that life is not about making everything happen exactly as planned, but about responding to circumstances in the best possible way. How can you apply this to your life? First, start by setting realistic expectations. If you always set unattainable goals, you're only setting yourself up for frustration. Instead of seeking perfection in every task, focus on doing your best in the present moment. The quality of your work is not measured by the absence of mistakes, but by the effort you put in and your ability to learn from challenges. Another valuable piece of advice is to learn to recognize and celebrate small achievements. Every step forward counts, even if it's not a giant leap towards perfection. Appreciate the moments when, even if things didn't turn out exactly as expected, you did your best. This mindset will allow you to move forward without the weight of perfectionism, which only holds you back. Finally, remember that the path to success, both personal and professional, is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't punish yourself for not being perfect. Instead, embrace your imperfections as opportunities for growth and learning. Life doesn't require you to be perfect, but to be authentic and persistent. By letting go of perfectionism, you'll live a fuller and more satisfying life. The pursuit of perfection is an illusion that steals your inner peace and happiness. Let go of the net, stop chasing shooting stars, and start enjoying the journey with all its imperfections. As Epictetus wisely said, perfection is the enemy of inner peace. Accept your flaws, embrace the present with gratitude, and discover the freedom that comes with this acceptance. 3. Meeting new people. Human relationships are like a complex game, mixing expectations, surprises, and inevitably, some disappointments. For many, making new connections can seem as challenging as trying to tame an untamable dragon. But don't worry, you don't need to be an epic hero to tackle this task. The secret lies in understanding why it's essential to expand your social circle and how to do it without losing your mind in the process. First, let me clarify something important. Emotional dependence is not exclusive to soap opera characters. In real life, having a limited social circle can be just as detrimental to your emotional well-being. This is where Stoic philosophy comes into play, offering valuable teachings. Stoics show us that serenity and control over our emotions are closely linked to how we handle our relationships and expectations. Think of your comfort zone as a cozy little cubicle. Inside, you feel safe, but life passes by without major surprises. Stepping out of that cubicle is like opening a window and breathing in the fresh air of the outside world. Meeting new people isn't just about increasing your contact list. It's an opportunity to challenge yourself, expand your horizons, and break social monotony. If you feel stuck in a social routine, it's time to open that window wide. And don't worry, no one is suggesting you become a party addict. What matters is making a conscious effort to get out once in a while. Here's a valuable tip. Meeting new people doesn't just mean talking about yourself. If you tend to monopolize conversations with stories about your latest gym adventure or your collection of rare stamps, it might be time to reassess this approach. Listening to others is an essential skill and will allow you to connect more deeply and genuinely. As Stoics would say, the art of conversation is as important as personal reflection. If the fear of rejection is holding you back from opening up, imagine you're playing a board game with the wrong rules. Without the courage to advance, the fun runs out. Not every connection you make will be perfect, and that's part of the process. The secret is to learn from each interaction and move on. Stoic philosophy teaches us to accept what we cannot change with grace and to focus on what is within our control. If a conversation doesn't go as expected, don't be discouraged. See it as an opportunity for learning and improvement. In a world full of filters and superficiality, being authentic is your true superpower. Don't try to mold yourself into an image that isn't yours just to please others. Authenticity attracts the right people, and being honest with yourself is key to inner peace and happiness, as Stoics teach. Stay true to your essence, and you'll see how genuine connections will form naturally, without forced effort. Meeting new people may seem like a challenge at first, but it's actually an opportunity to grow, develop, and enrich your life. Step out of your comfort zone, listen to others attentively, accept rejection with dignity, and above all, maintain your authenticity. This way, you'll not only expand your social circle, but also cultivate deeper and more meaningful relationships. Remember, in the grand game of life, meeting new people is not a matter of luck but of strategy. And you, my friend, have all the tools necessary to play this game successfully. As Brian Tracy aptly puts it, True personal growth begins when you dare to open yourself to the world and accept that each interaction is an opportunity to learn and improve. 4. Engage in pleasurable activities. Let's talk about something you might not have considered a priority: the art of engaging in leisure activities that truly bring pleasure and satisfaction. And no, I'm not talking about collapsing on the couch with a bag of popcorn and watching a mediocre TV series. What I want to address is how you can turn your leisure time into a true masterpiece of self-care. Because, yes, even free time can be a powerful statement of intentions. In modern life, leisure has become a luxury reserved for the end of the day, when we're exhausted and out of energy, as a reward after everything has gone wrong. However, Stoic philosophy, this ancient gem, teaches us something different. Time is not something we should waste but rather cultivate. According to the Stoics, free time is a valuable resource that should be treated like a garden. If you ignore it or treat it as empty space, you'll only see weeds growing. But if you take care of and cultivate this time, it will flourish with beautiful activities that truly enrich your life. Pleasurable activities are not just temporary distractions. They are the flowers you choose to plant in your inner garden. However, it's important to remember that not all flowers are the same. A hobby should nurture your mind and spirit, not just be a temporary escape. Instead of losing yourself in endless hours scrolling through social media, why not invest that time in something that truly brings growth? Take reading as an example. Instead of picking up the latest fashionable novel, why not dive into books that expand your mind and connect you with something greater, like the writings of great Stoic philosophers? If art calls to you, try activities like painting, sculpting, or playing a musical instrument. These practices not only occupy your time positively, but also challenge your mind and promote personal growth. Each of these activities is a way to invest your free time rather than just spending it on fleeting distractions. This doesn't mean, of course, that you should turn every moment of leisure into a self-discovery or existential achievement project. Sometimes, the best use of your free time is simply to relax in the sun or take a quiet walk in nature. The key is to make leisure time a conscious choice, not an escape from reality. Turning these moments into enriching experiences is an art worth mastering. Just as Stoics teach us to master our emotions and focus on what truly matters, we can apply the same approach to our leisure time. When you do this correctly, you'll find that leisure is not just an escape but also a powerful source of rejuvenation and creativity. The next time you have a moment of free time, instead of filling it with superficial distractions, ask yourself, how can I use this time to cultivate my inner garden? This investment will bring more satisfaction than any binge-watching session. Remember, well-utilized leisure time is the best investment in yourself. As Marcus Aurelius said, if you cannot find peace in the present moment, perhaps you just need to change the way you use your free time. 5. Spend time with yourself. Now let's discuss a topic that, at first glance, seems simple but that many avoid as if it were as scary as a shark in the bathtub: spending time alone. Yes, that alone time you dodge with the skill of a ninja, perhaps out of fear of facing your own thoughts. Are you afraid of yourself, or do you simply prefer distracting yourself with binge-watching TV series and social media? Stoic philosophy, through its ancient sages, teaches that true freedom begins when we are able to be comfortable with our own company. For the Stoics, dependence on others was a chain that imprisoned our inner peace. So why not follow the advice of these ancient masters and dare to enjoy your own company? Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a garden. If you only spend time in it when there are visitors, it will soon become overrun with weeds. Only when you dedicate yourself to caring for it regularly, without external distractions, can you truly see it flourish. The same applies to your emotional well-being. It's not just about being alone but about using that time to reflect, take care of yourself, and grow. But how do you start making the most of those moments of solitude? First, choose an activity that you enjoy and can do alone. It doesn't have to be something transcendental. It could be reading a book, writing in a journal, or simply taking a quiet walk. The important thing is to find something that allows you to connect with yourself, without the constant influence of others. If at first, this alone time feels uncomfortable, don't worry. It's like learning to ride a bike. Initially, you might feel unsteady and even question if it will be enjoyable. But over time, you'll find that these moments become valuable and enriching. Another effective technique is meditation, but it doesn't have to be formal or rigid. Just set aside a few minutes to breathe deeply and focus on the present moment. The Stoics already knew that the ability to reflect without distractions is essential for achieving inner peace. Remember, Spending time alone is not a punishment but an opportunity to get to know yourself better. It's a chance to understand your own thoughts and feelings without the constant interference of external opinions. If you ever feel tempted to avoid these moments of solitude, think about what the Stoics would say: true freedom lies in emotional and mental independence. Spending time with yourself is a gift, a chance to explore your inner garden, remove the weeds, and enjoy the beauty that exists within you. So the next time you feel like escaping those moments of solitude, remember, in the company of yourself, you will find true peace. As Confucius wisely said, solitude is not a condemnation but an opportunity to meet the best of companions, yourself. 6. Learn to say no. Modern life has become a frenzy of demands, commitments, and a constant battle to try to save a little time for yourself. If you've ever felt like you're turning into a circus juggler, balancing multiple acts at once, know that you're not alone. And here's an uncomfortable truth: to stop relying on others' approval and recognition, you first need to learn to say no firmly, without your voice wavering. I'm not talking about the need to be a superhero who tries to solve everything for everyone, but rather about developing the essential skill of reclaiming your time and mental health. Think of your life as a garden. Each commitment, favor, or request you accept is like a plant growing in that space. If you're not careful, your garden will quickly become an impenetrable jungle, where you can barely find the path to the bench where you'd like to rest. Learning to say no is like hiring a skilled gardener to keep this garden organized. They remove the weeds before they take over the space and start to suffocate you. The truth is, you often find yourself in a dilemma. You want to help others but also don't want to disappoint them. However, have you ever stopped to think about the price you pay for each yes you give? The constant pursuit of others' approval can be as destructive as the weeds in your garden. It makes you believe that your worth is directly tied to your ability to meet others' expectations, ignoring your own needs and desires. This is where Stoic philosophy offers a valuable lesson. The Stoics, with their ancient wisdom, teach us that true power lies in controlling our reactions, not the world around us. Epictetus, one of the great names in Stoicism, said that it is not things that disturb us, but our reactions to them. So if your automatic response to any request is to say yes, it might be time to rethink this strategy. Here's a simple tip: start small. Instead of challenging yourself to say no in complicated situations right away, try declining small requests. For example, if someone asks you to host a meeting at your home, but you'd prefer to spend the evening watching a movie in your pajamas, instead of coming up with a detailed excuse, simply say that you can't at the moment. The world won't collapse, but you'll feel an immediate relief. Another important tip is to practice saying no assertively. It's not about being rude, but about communicating clearly and firmly that you cannot commit. You can use a simple phrase like, "I'm sorry, but I won't be able to do that." There's no need to provide detailed justifications or come up with excuses. Remember that your time and well-being are as important as anyone else's. Learning to say no is an act of self-care. It's a crucial skill for maintaining a healthy balance in your life. Just as the Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, you can also take control of your time and energy. Don't let the pressure to please everyone lead you into a spiral of chaos and exhaustion. In the end, true power lies in your ability to say no before your life becomes an uncontrollable labyrinth of commitments. As Oscar Wilde aptly put it, it is not weakness to say no, it is strength to recognize your own limits. 7. Invest in yourself. Let's talk about something that may not seem very pleasant at first glance: investing in yourself without feeling guilty. This means, for example, using that savings you set aside to buy a new TV to do something that, surprise, doesn't offer immediate fun but provides a genuine improvement in your well-being. Before you rush out to buy the latest gadget, let me explain why this is so important. Life is full of traps that make us believe there is always something more urgent, more necessary, and more important than investing in ourselves. Work, obligations, and endless to-do lists are modern excuses that make us forget something simple but essential: our own well-being. And this is where Stoic philosophy comes into play. These ancient sages knew something that seems to have been lost in the current chaos: the importance of prioritizing self-care without it feeling like selfishness or an escape from responsibilities. So, let's talk about solutions. What does it really mean to invest in yourself? Imagine your life as an exotic plant that needs water, light, and nutrients to grow. If you don't take care of it, it wilts, regardless of how beautiful the surrounding environment is. Investing in yourself is ensuring that this plant receives the necessary care to thrive. It might seem like a luxury, but it's actually a basic necessity for a balanced life. Time. Dedicate time to yourself as if it were the most valuable resource you have, because it truly is. Think of it like training for a marathon. You need time to prepare and be in your best shape. If you focus only on doing without taking time to reflect, it's like trying to run a marathon without any prior training. Investing time might mean learning a new skill, meditating, or simply resting. Money, while financially investing in yourself might seem less intuitive, it's equally important. I'm not suggesting that you spend money recklessly on fleeting luxuries, but rather make smart choices that promote your personal growth. If you have to choose between paying for a gym membership or a fancy dinner, reflect on which option will bring more long-term benefits. The key is to see money as a tool for your development, not as a purposeless expense. Guilt. Now, let's address that old acquaintance, guilt. Often, you might feel guilty for spending time or money on yourself, as if you're robbing from other areas of your life. However, from a Stoic perspective, guilt is merely a distraction from what truly matters. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, and investing in your mental or physical health is something entirely within your control. Think of it as an investment in your future, and believe me, your future self will be eternally grateful. Investing in yourself isn't an act of selfishness, but a way to ensure that you can give your best to the world. Just as an engine needs fuel to operate, you need to care for yourself to be the best version possible. The next time you feel guilty for dedicating time and resources to your well-being, remember, you're simply making a wise decision to maintain balance in your life. As Einstein said, investing in yourself is the only expenditure that never goes to waste or causes regret. 8. Set your non-negotiable boundaries in a new relationship. Love. That whirlwind of emotions that sometimes makes us lose our heads and act as if we're jumping off a cliff without a parachute, all in the hope of a happy ending. But before you dive headfirst into a new relationship, have you ever considered the importance of setting your boundaries and identifying red flags? Yes, those warning signs that, like a roadwork ahead sign, you ignore at your own risk. Let's unravel this mystery and prepare your list of red flags, something that, following Stoic wisdom, will bring you much more peace than any bubble bath after a chaotic week. Think about how you would approach buying a used car. You wouldn't buy it without checking the engine and the internal conditions, right? The same goes for relationships. You don't want the model to come with hidden defects, like a battery that drains at the slightest conflict. This is where your list of red flags comes in, a reliable guide to help you avoid unpleasant surprises. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine you start dating someone who seems perfect at first glance. However, after a few weeks, this person begins to show signs of extreme emotional dependency, such as calling you dozens of times a day, checking your phone, or expecting you to be their personal therapist. If your list of red flags includes behaviors like emotional dependency, that's a clear warning that the engine might have serious issues. To create your list, start by identifying which behaviors and attitudes caused problems in past relationships. Perhaps people who emotionally manipulate or disrespect your boundaries have been sources of great frustration. Make a list of these behaviors as a safety filter to protect your emotional well-being. Thus, when you start a new relationship, you'll have a sort of instruction manual to recognize warning signs in advance. Another useful trick is to apply Stoic philosophy. Reflect on your values and principles and ensure that the person you are dating respects them as well. According to the Stoics, our inner peace depends on how we handle our emotions. If someone is willing to disrupt your emotional balance out of selfishness or whim, that's a clear red flag you shouldn't ignore. Therefore, before diving headfirst into a new relationship as if it were an emotional carnival, take some time to prepare your list of red flags. Think of it as a protective shield against unpleasant surprises and a compass to maintain your inner peace. In the end, a bit of caution can prevent a lot of unnecessary suffering. Remember, a love that doesn't respect your boundaries and values is like a broken compass. It will always lead you in the wrong direction. As an ancient Stoic proverb wisely states, "He who ignores warning signs loses their way on the path to happiness." With your list in hand, proceed with confidence and let true love, not chaos, find you. 9. Don't accept receiving less than you give. Relationships can be like uncertain territory where maps disappear and compasses take on a life of their own, leading us in unexpected directions. We've all been in that position where we give ourselves wholeheartedly, only to realize that the other person seems to be playing a confusing game with reciprocity. If you've ever felt like you're chasing an emotional ghost, it's time to redefine your standards and adjust your emotional compass. The truth is, you should not accept less than you offer in a relationship, especially when what you seek is genuine reciprocity, not a mere commercial transaction. Let's be clear, we're not talking about a calculated exchange system where every gesture must be immediately rewarded, like I give you 4 hugs, and you give me 2 compliments. Life and relationships don't follow that balancing logic where everything needs to be perfectly even. What we're seeking here is true reciprocity, that subtle balance where both partners feel valued and respected. The Stoics, with their millennia-old wisdom, always emphasize that true value lies in giving generously, but also in recognizing when it's time to receive. Imagine you're building a house. You lay each brick with care and dedication, wanting to create a perfect home. However, when you look to the side, you see that the contractor responsible for the other part of the work is slacking off, leaving the job incomplete. The house might look stable from the outside, but inside, without collaboration, it's far from solid. The same goes for relationships. If you're constantly giving without receiving anything in return, the relationship might seem functional, but internally, it will be empty and unbalanced. How to avoid having your generosity misinterpreted as an endless gift? First, set clear boundaries. There's no need for a formal agreement on every detail of the relationship, but it's important that both of you have a mutual understanding of expectations and what you want to build together. Second, observe actions, not just words. Someone might say they value you, but if their actions don't reflect that feeling, it might be time to adjust your expectations. Practically speaking, if you're putting in 100% effort and the other person is barely contributing 10%, you're not in a true relationship but rather in a one-sided dynamic. Reciprocity means that both are committed to giving and receiving, learning and growing together. It's a balancing act where the goal isn't just to give your all but also to allow the other to actively participate in building the relationship. In the complex maze of human relations, remember that you're not just there to be the hero who gives without receiving. True reciprocity is the path to a healthy and balanced connection. So don't accept less than you give, not because you expect something in return, but because you deserve to be in a relationship where effort and affection are mutually reflected. The value of a relationship is not measured by the quantity of what you give, but by the quality of what both build together. Adjust your compass, move forward with confidence, and seek that genuine reciprocity that will truly make your efforts worthwhile. As it also builds more authentic and balanced relationships, Stoic philosophy teaches us that controlling our emotions and clarity in communication are essential for a more peaceful and harmonious life. So the next time you find yourself stuck in the limbo of unspoken feelings, remember that your voice is your superpower. Use it wisely. Emotional freedom begins where honest and respectful communication ends. 10. Communicate assertively. Assertive communication is essential for avoiding emotional dependency and building more authentic and balanced relationships. Sometimes, we might feel as if we're waiting for someone to decipher our thoughts and feelings without having said a word. Instead, assertiveness allows us to express our emotions and needs clearly and directly, leaving no room for misunderstandings. Imagine yourself at a party where everyone is dancing, and you're just watching, hoping to be invited to the dance floor. This is similar to not communicating assertively in relationships. You might be waiting for others to notice your needs without saying anything. Being assertive isn't just about speaking clearly, but also about preventing your mind from becoming a labyrinth of unspoken thoughts and repressed emotions. Being assertive is like having a compass instead of a crystal ball. You don't need to guess what others are thinking or expect them to read your mind. Instead, you ensure that your thoughts and feelings are communicated clearly and respectfully. Here are some techniques to improve assertive communication. Direct and respectful expression. If something bothers you, express it clearly and directly. For example, if you spill a drink, you don't expect the problem to resolve itself. You say, "I spilled the drink and I'm going to clean it up." Similarly, when something affects you, speak about it directly, but always with respect. Use of I instead of you. Instead of accusing someone by saying, "You always ignore me," try saying, "I feel ignored when you don't listen to me." This shifts the focus from an accusation to expressing how the situation affects you, promoting a more understanding communication. Active listening. It's not enough to just speak, you also need to listen. If someone is sharing something with you, don't be eager to speak but listen actively and engage in the conversation. This improves communication and strengthens the bonds between you and others. Stoic philosophy teaches us that controlling our emotions and communicating clearly are essential for a balanced life. The next time you feel stuck in the limbo of unspoken feelings, remember, your voice is a superpower. Emotional freedom begins where honest and respectful communication starts. As an illustration of this wisdom, consider the story of Maria, a young woman who struggled with emotional dependency. After a revealing encounter with an elderly lady, Maria learned to see herself as the ocean, vast and deep, not depending on the waves, or the approval of others, to define her worth. She began to invest in herself and find inner peace without relying on external validation. I want to congratulate you for making it this far and completing the video. It means you are committed to improving as a person and learning from these lessons. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a comment below. If you're unsure what to write, just type gratitude. This way, I'll know you watched until the end. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe now and join our community. Stoicism is full of valuable teachings that can transform our daily lives. I encourage you to keep exploring this philosophy. I'll leave 2 more videos with Stoic wisdom here so you can continue learning. See you next time.